coffee. And my coffee got cold really fast this morning because it's so cold outside, although I love it because I get to wear long sleeves. As I told you last week, I am not reading a storybook today because normally Wednesday is our special guest day, but we're doing Tuesday special guest reader because it is my friend Lauren. She's a former student, but she's also an officer with the Metropolitan Police Department in Washington, D.C., and she has off today. And she does not tomorrow. So that's why she's here. Hey, Lauren.
Hi.
How are you?
I am good.
I'm kind of bummed I didn't get to see you while I was down in D.C. this past week. Because I would have definitely liked to see you in your uniform. And been like, yes, she's my friend. But that's okay. You were very busy, I'm sure, as was I.
Yeah.
I had a really great time, and thank you for all my pre-trip tips of places not to go and
right.
things not to do, which I very much listen to. And although I went over to the Supreme Court during the day, and that was quite lovely. Very crowded. I didn't stay very long.
Yeah.
Did not stay very long.
Yeah.
I don't like crowds these days. So I imagine that you're very busy as a police officer.
Work is kind of crazy. A lot of schedule changes. Yep.
But you're staying safe.
I am.
That's good. Well, I'm not going to ask you to tell any stories because this might not be the audience for some of those stories. But I am going to ask you what book you're going to read.
This is Make Way for the Ducklings.
Oh my gosh, I love these books.
My parents used to read this to me when they're trying to make me go to sleep. This is by Robert McCloskey. And this takes place in Boston, and my dad was from Boston. That's probably why probably why they read it to me, actually.
Oh, awesome! And here's a little bit of trivia: Adventure Theater up in Glen Echo is actually developing a musical based on this book.
What?
Yes. They did a reading. They did a reading on of it in like April on Zoom. They did a Zoom reading of it, and I watched it, and it's the cutest thing, and the music is adorable. So yeah.
Oh.
So in your spare time, you can go to Adventure Theater's website and look on their screens and all their videos and listen to them read the story. It's cute. So I'm excited you're going to read this. I'm going to get out of your way and let you do that. And I'll see you on the other side.
Alrighty. So here is Make Way for the Ducklings. It was written in 1941, which oddly enough was the year, well, besides the year we started World War II, that was the year that my grandpa joined the Boston Police Department. So, here we have Mr. and Mrs. Mallard. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were looking for a place to live, but every time Mr. Mallard saw what looked like a nice place, Mrs. Mallard said it was no good. There were sure to be foxes in the woods or turtles in the water, and she was not going to raise a family where there might be foxes or turtles. So they flew on and on. When they got to Boston, they felt too tired to fly any further. There was a nice pond in the public garden with a little island on it. The very place to spend the night, quacked Mr. Mallard. So down they flapped. Next morning, they fished for their breakfast in the mud at the bottom of the pond. but they didn't find much. Just as they were getting ready to start on their way, a strange, enormous bird came by. It was pushing a boat full of people, and there was a man sitting on its back. "Good morning," quacked Mr. Mallard, being polite. The big bird was too proud to answer, but the people on the boat threw peanuts into the water. So the mallards followed them all round the pond and got another breakfast, better than the first. "I like this place," said Mrs. Mallard as they climbed out on the bank and waddled along. "Why don't we build a nest and raise our ducklings right in this pond? There are no foxes and no turtles, and the people feed us peanuts. What could be better?" "Good," said Mr. Mallard, delighted that at last Mrs. Mallard had found a place that suited her. But "Look out!" squawked Mrs. Mallard, all of a dither. "You'll get run over." And when she got her breath, she added, "This is no place for babies, with all these horrid things rushing about. We'll have to look somewhere else." So they flew over Beacon Hill and round the State House, but there was no place there. They looked in Louisburg Square, but there was no water to swim in. Then they flew over the Charles River. "This is better," quacked Mr. Mallard. "That island looks like a nice, quiet place, and it's only a little way from the public garden." "Yes," said Mrs. Mallard, remembering the peanuts. "That looks like just the right place to hatch ducklings." So they chose a cozy spot among the bushes near the water and settled down to build their nest. And only just in time, for now, they were beginning to molt, and all their old wing feathers started to drop out, and they would not be able to fly again until the new ones grew in. But of course, they could swim. And one day they swam over to the park on the riverbank, where they met a policeman called Michael. Michael fed them peanuts, and after that, the mallards called on Michael every day. After Mrs. Mallard had laid 8 eggs in the nest, she couldn't go visit Michael anymore because she had to sit on the eggs to keep them warm. She moved off the nest only to get a drink of water or to have her lunch or to count the eggs to make sure they were all there. One day the ducklings hatched out. First came Jack, then Cack, then Lack, then Mack, then Knack, and Whack, and Pack, and Quack. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were bursting with pride. It was a great responsibility taking care of so many ducklings, and it kept them very busy. One day, Mr. Mallard decided he'd like to take a trip to see what the rest of the river was like further on. So off he set. "I'll meet you in a week in the public garden," he quacked over his shoulder. "Take good care of the ducklings." "Don't you worry," said Mrs. Mallard. "I know all about bringing up children." And she did. She taught them how to swim and dive. She taught them to walk in a line, to come when they were called, and to keep a safe distance from bikes and scooters and other things with wheels. When at last she felt perfectly satisfied with them, she said one morning, "Come along, children, follow me." Before you could wink an eyelash, Jack, Cack, Lack, Mack, Knack, Whack, Pack, and Quack fell into line just as they had been taught. Mrs. Mallard led the way into the water, and they swam behind her to the opposite bank. There they waded ashore and waddled along till they came to the highway. Mrs. Mallard stepped out to cross the road. Honk, honk went the horns on the speeding cars. Quack went Mrs. Mallard as she tumbled back again. Quack, 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 quack went Jack, Cack, Lack, Mack, Knack, Whack, Pack, and Quack, just as loud as their little quackers could quack. The cars kept speeding by and honking, and Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings kept right on quack, quack, quacking. They made such a noise that Michael came running, waving his arms and blowing his whistle. He planted himself in the center of the road, raised one hand to stop traffic, and then beckoned with the other, the way policemen do, for Mrs. Mallard to cross over. As soon as Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings were safe on the other side and on their way down Mount Vernon Street, Michael rushed back to his police booth. He called Clancy at headquarters and said, "There's a family of ducks walking down the street." Clancy said, "Family of what?" "Ducks," yelled Michael. "Send a police car, quick." Meanwhile, Mrs. Mallard had reached the corner bookshop and turned into Charles Street, with Jack, Cack, Lack, Mack, Knack, Whack, Pack, and Quack all marching in line behind her. Everyone stared. An old lady from Beacon Hill said, "Isn't it amazing?" And the man who swept the streets said, "Well, now, isn't that nice?" And when Mrs. Mallard heard them, she was so proud she tipped her nose in the air and walked along with an extra swing in her waddle. When they came to the corner of Beacon Street, there was the police car with 4 policemen that Clancy had sent from headquarters. The policemen held back traffic so Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings could march across the street. Right on into the public garden. Inside the gate, they all turned around to say thank you to the policemen. The policemen smiled and waved goodbye. When they reached the pond and swam across to the little island, there was Mr. Mallard waiting for him, just as he had promised. The ducklings liked the new island so much that they decided to live there. All day long, they follow the swan boats and eat peanuts. And when night falls, they swim to their little island and go to sleep. The end.
That was so cute. What a great book.
So then the rest of my life, my dad, every time we saw ducks, he said, well, there goes Pack and Lack and Quack. Yeah, Dad, thanks.
You don't know. Could have been. could have been. You don't know.
Except we were in DC, not.
So what kind of fun things do you get to do on your days off?
Avoid DC. I relax. I watch TV. I listen to music. I go get my allergy shots. That's not fun. Before COVID, my family would come over. I think they really came to visit my dog, not me.
Your dog?
Yeah.
Dog?
Baby, come here. Come here, baby. Yeah, she's tearing up a chair right now. There she is. Come here, baby. Come here, honey. There we go.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, you can definitely see she's the boss of the house.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. She's my boss. Yeah.
Well.
Tell her she's a very demanding boss. Yeah.
Well, because she knows she's a princess.
I'm queen.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you have Mondays and Tuesdays off, is that?
I have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 10-hour shifts, 4 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is my little buddy. So, yeah, we hang out a lot. I talk to her. She doesn't judge me.
That's good in a best friend. To not have anyone judge you. We talk a lot about that, actually, when we do story time, about not judging others. And Make Way for Ducklings actually goes right along with what we tell everybody every day, which is to lead with kindness. So those police officers were definitely leading with kindness for the Mallard family, which is really awesome. So, well, I won't keep you from your allergy shots.
I already got them.
Okay, cool.
For this, I was sneezing my head off.
It was when the weather changes here, and now I'll start coughing, and people will really avoid me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how my allergies manifest, is that I cough.
Oh, yeah.
So no one will come near me, which would be kind of fun.
We have a whiteboard with a tally of everybody sneezes. I'm in the lead.
Well, it's because you're an overachiever.
I must be the best.
Yes, you are. You're the best sneezer, so you have to let everyone know that you are. All right. Well, I will let you get on with your last day of relaxation, and we're gonna plant bulbs today, so that in the spring we have lots and lots of flowers in our yard. But first, more coffee. So, everybody, I hope that you enjoyed meeting Miss Lauren, and I hope that she'll come back and read another story someday. But I'll be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And I know that last week my sound wasn't working, so you all saw me read I Love You, Little Monkey, but nobody heard me read it. So I'm going to read that tomorrow. And everyone will hear it then, and that would be good because it's a cute book. And we're planning on stuff, so go to the website and take a look. And you can go to mariposatheater.org and become a Patreon member and subscribe for as little as $5 a month. And that helps us bring really great programming all the time until we can be back in person, because I really miss that. I miss that a lot. So, Lauren, thank you.
You're welcome. This was fun.
So good to see you.
You too.
And we'll keep good thoughts that you stay safe in DC. And everybody else, remember, lead with kindness, and have a wonderful day.